Hello and welcome to this Sonic Academy tech tip. Today I'm going to be showing you some cool tricks with reverb and more specifically resampling it and using the sampled reverb as an effect in your track. So firstly I'll just play you what we've got here. It's just a simple sort of basic start of a techno track really, with a kick loop, bass and this kind of FM stab sound. So what we've got is this. So for this effect, it usually works best using a mid-range sound because obviously that sits in between the sort of bass and the percussion of your track more nicely. If you've got a vocal in your track, that's usually like the ideal choice. In this one, we're going to go with the FM stab, so which is this sound here. So the first job is to create a new track. Right-click, insert audio track, and your track comes up. And change the input to resampling. So this means we can bounce the audio that's currently playing onto this track. So record on that track, that button there, record on the project, and hit play. And stop there, we only need a little bit. So let's just take it back to that first part there. So solo, the one we've just bounced. Cool, that's got the tone to it. You don't need to worry too much about delay tails and reverb tails and things like that because we're just after the general tone because it's going to be bathed in a ton of reverb anyway, so we don't need to worry about it too much. So onto that track, drop a reverb. You can use any. This is just the standard live reverb. This frozen build-up preset sounds like a good place to start. So we've just got reverb there. It's a little bit thin, so let's take the low cut and high cut filters off and see how that sounds. Yeah, let's get in there. Turn decay time up a little bit and density up a little bit, just make it a bit thicker. Cool. That's an interesting little tone. So let's right click on this track and freeze it. And then do the same again and hit flatten, which gives us access to the actual wave file that the freeze created. So now you can see we've got the actual audio file of just the reverb on its own here. That part there. So the next job is to drop that into a sampler. So we create a MIDI track, same process as before, but hit MIDI. And then drag this piece of audio here onto the MIDI track, which will put it into a simpler. So then we can hit the key on the keyboard, and we've got that sample being played across the keyboard. That in itself, you know, using it pitched up and down, you can use just as kind of a splash effect. You know, something like that actually tailing off could be quite a nice little effect, dropping into a break or something like that. So yeah, these effects you can use in all sorts of ways, but we're going to go a little bit further than that. So let's loop this up firstly. So if we set our range on here with those little markers and turn the loop on and just set it to something like this, like find a nice little bit and crossfade by turning up the fade knob. So you want a nice decent amount of fade on it there, so just fiddle with those. Probably too much because we don't want that initial sound on with the short delays. So that's sounding like a pretty smooth loop. So you just need to fiddle with those start and end points and the fade time until you get something that sounds like a sort of constant. I mean, a little bit of, if you can hear the fade slightly, it doesn't matter too much, but it wants to sound fairly consistent. So that works. That's round about the kind of thing we're looking for. So then let's just drop this onto an audio track. Drop some MIDI onto the MIDI track down here. So Command Shift and M or Control Shift and M on a PC creates a new MIDI part, and just draw in a long note of C3 in here. So that should now give us a nice held, nice long held sustained note of that sound. So then we can get to the interesting part, because these work really well for giving a track atmosphere. So let's say we've got this section here as our intro part of the track, and then this part here is where the stab comes in, which is as the track picks up a little bit. We could probably use this reverb effect to kind of add interest to the earlier section where there isn't a main element going on. So right, we can do away with that track now where we made the reverb on. That was just for working. So on this reverb channel here, the little what we bounced out, let's get some filters on there. So bandpass usually works quite well on these because it stops it from taking up too much space in the mix and gives you a lot of interesting movement. So let's go for bandpass 12 and stick a little bit of resonance on there and hit play. So there you go. You can hear by just sort of moving the cutoff frequency on that filter, it gives it a kind of spooky, atmospheric kind of feel. So let's draw a little bit of automation on that filter frequency. Obviously this is quite a little short demo, but you know, if you were doing a longer track, you could have this sort of moving around up and down over the course of a minute or 30 seconds or whatever to keep your track moving. So let's just play that. It's a little bit of up and down automation on the filter cutoff. Yeah, sounds good. So let's drop a kick out there and add a little bit of effect onto this. I've just got some delays on sends, which I have on my template, but it's just a normal quarter beat delay. So we'll stick that send beat up a little bit, so it just gives it a little bit of it gives it a little bit of tail off each filter movement. Cool. And one last thing to do in these sort of techno and things like that. I mean, you can use this effect in most genres really, but in 4/4 based music, a bit of sidechain on this effect usually sounds good. So if we just throw a compressor after the effect there, and go to the sidechain input and set it to the kick, this should mean that the effect sort of pumps up and down in between the kicks in a nice way, hopefully. So there you go, bring the threshold down a little bit, turn the volume down a bit. It wants to be an effect, a sort of background effect rather than dominating too much, I think. And there you go. That's a basic way of doing that. I mean, but then once you've got those resampled reverbs, they fit with the track because they're keyed and they're connected in some way to one of your track elements. So from there on, the world's your oyster. Have a little play around. I mean, try dropping that down an octave maybe and see how that sounds. You get kind of a deeper version of the same thing, or up an octave if you want a higher version. But they're all kind of tied into the track. Sounds quite good though. I'd go that. But then, there's plenty more you can do if you go in and, let's say you wanted to turn that into a riser, for instance. If we go in and change simpler to sampler by right-clicking there and hitting that. And in the MIDI section, set the pitch bend range to 2 octaves, let's say. Let's give it a nice wide range. Go into here and hit pitch bend. And just do a big long ramp from low to high, and oops, not started that in the right place. Try that. And there you go. You can use it to create riser effects in that kind of way. So millions of possibilities. I'm sure you'll come up with your own creative ways of using these kind of effects, but hopefully that gives you a bit of background on how to get started. So I hope you enjoyed the tip, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.